Instagram. Hey, Facebook. It's Friday, y'all. Thank you all for joining me on your Friday evening. I cannot wait to get started with you guys today. I hope your Friday is going well, that you all have big plans for the weekend. This is the second weekend in a row we are expecting snow in Virginia Beach, so we will see how that goes. So I'm going to get started in a few minutes. I'll give people a second to join in. But again, thank you so much for spending time with me another Friday. I'm excited to be here. So for those of you all who do not know me, I am Jennifer J. Dove. I am also known as the authority on authenticity. I am the author of a book, Ready for More, A Woman's Guide to Becoming Fearlessly Authentic. And I am an authenticity coach. And I teach high achieving professional women how to amplify their confidence, how to clarify and pursue their passions, and how to showcase their power so they can elevate their lives both personally and professionally. So we're talking about women who want to move to the next level, right? So we are talking about women who are already successful but want to go to the next level in their lives. And so today we're going to talk about being your authentic self, how to be fearlessly authentic, what that means, and the number one step that you need to take to do that. And that is facing your truth. So that is what my live is about today. So the women that I work with are maybe a lot like you who are looking at this video, and it's a lot like the woman that I was. The women that I work with are successful, they are movers and shakers, and they really do seem to have it all. But when they sit with themselves, they tend to be unfulfilled, they tend to be unhappy, and they want more in their lives. They want more. You may feel that way, that you want more, that there is more out there for you. And they want to do things on their own terms, right? They're successful, but they want to move to the next level. And one of the things that we talk about on how to move to the next level is just a very difficult first step to take. It is difficult for a lot of people. And we're going to talk about, why that can be, why it can be so difficult to take that step. And that step I talk about in the first chapter of my book. And that step is identifying and accepting the truth of your life. So, why is that so difficult? Because people can say, "Well, I know the truth about what's going on in my life. I know what's happening. I know who I am. I know all of those things." But if we are honest, we're talking about truth. If we are honest, many of us we are much more interested in how we appear to others rather than working on actually improving ourselves from the inside out. We live in a society with social media, with TV. Everybody is doing different things and everybody is showing their highlight reels of their life. And so a lot of times we are more interested in how we look on the outside than doing the real work on the inside. A lot of us can say the things that we want in our lives. Well, I want a 6,000 square foot house. I want a Bentley. I want to make seven figures. I want to make eight figures. I want all of these things. I want to be successful. I want everybody to know who I am. I want to be able to go to Dubai. I want to be able to go to Santorini. I want to do all of these things. We can articulate the things that we say we want, the things that we say we want to do, but what is it that could be keeping us from really living those things and moving to the next step, elevating to the next step in our life? So I discussed two reasons that this may be. There are several reasons, but I discussed two that it may be in my book. One is what we say we want may not really be what we want. So when I go back to what I just said about social media, about reality TV, about what people are saying that they're doing, a lot of times these are surface things. These are not things that we really deeply, truly want. These are things that we are allowing society to dictate to us that we want, right? So it could really be that we want to be healthy. We want to limit visits to the doctor in terms of being sick. There is cancer in our family, or diabetes in our family, or high blood pressure in our family, and we want to be healthier. But we don't say that, right? Because what we see is the Bentley. What we see is the huge house. So we allow those outside things to dictate what we articulate we want, when that's not really what we want. Part of facing your truth is really looking at who you are and what you really want, because you cannot elevate to the next level if you have not defined what the next level is for your life. So the second reason, and one thing that I do want to say about that before I move on, is we have to be very cautious of what we consume. And when I say consume, I don't just mean what we eat, but we have to be very cautious about what we look at on TV. If we constantly surround ourselves with reality TV shows, with people who claim to be millionaires and billionaires, and they have all of these fancy houses and more than one houses, and they're taking these exotic trips and they're spending all of this money, and we consume ourselves with music where people are talking about all these things that they have, and the things that they did to get it, and we are around a circle of people who do not speak life into us, who really allow us to have a false sense of what we should want, then we are not going to be able to tap into our true desires because of what we consume. So you have to pay attention to what you consume and what you expose yourself to. So the second reason that we may not be able to fulfill our true desires and the things that we really want and the things that we can elevate to in our lives is we have not truly allowed ourselves to articulate, hear, or accept what is really going on in our lives, to accept the truth of our lives, facing the truth. And I know facing the truth can be full of fear, it can be scary, but there are things that if we want to go to the next level, we have to be upfront and we have to be honest with ourselves. I'm not saying that you have to blast your truths out to other people on social media, all of those things that you have to go to church and go to the altar and just tell everything. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is you need to be able to articulate and accept the truth to yourself so you can elevate to the next level. Things like, I hate my job because it fails to showcase my true talent. Things like, I am in an intimate long-term relationship, but I'm still lonely. I still feel lonely every day. Things like, my immediate family, they really make me feel like an outcast. These are examples of things. I don't have any money saved. I don't have any savings. I don't know what I'm going to do in retirement. I'm still grieving the death of a loved one. Or how about this? This is one that is common that we don't say to ourselves. I'm mad at myself because I don't complete things that I start. These are examples of the truths that we have to realize, recognize, and articulate to ourselves before we can go to the next level. I know it's easier to hide those things and never bring them to the surface, never dig them up. They say ignorance is bliss, and it truly, truly is. We can be happy when we ignore things, but ignorance is also stifling, it is hindering, it hides us. It keeps us from knowing who we truly are, and it keeps us from elevating to the next level. We have to face our truths if we want to move to the next level in our lives, if we want to get closer to authenticity, if we want to get closer to who we are designed to be. So, what are some things that we can do to identify and accept the truths about who we are? So I'm just going to share a couple things, and then I'm going to wrap this live up. I'm not going to keep you long on your Friday night. But a question you need to ask yourself is, do you even know yourself? And I am 46 years old, and there are things that I'm still realizing about myself every day. And I have to make a conscious effort to know myself. One of the things that I talk about in my book, and I recommend to my readers and to my clients that I work with, is make a list of I am statements about yourself. Things that you really truly think and believe about yourself. Things that are positive, but also things that you may need to make some improvements on. It can be, I could tell you some things that I put on my list, because anything that I ask my clients to do, I have done myself. They have helped me. So some of the things I put on my list is I am unique. Recognizing that you are unique and recognizing that you are different helps you to deal with comparison, right? You can't compare yourself to anyone else because you are unique. You are like no one else. And I believe that about myself. Another thing that I wrote down, and it may be true for you too, is I'm a hard worker. When I get my mindset on something and I decide that I'm going to do it, I work hard. Now, one thing that I wrote down that I really, being truthful, being honest, and knowing I need to work on was I am too concerned with what other people think about me. And I tell a story in my book about how my whole life was based around what other people thought about me. If they liked me, if they wanted to be my friend, if they thought I was a good person, all of that. So write down some I am statements about yourself and put it down. After you write the list, put it down, come back in a week, look at it, see if it's still true. Because what we're trying to do is to discover who we really are, not who other people say we are. I'm not asking you what other people say about you. I am asking you who you feel like you are. Another thing I want you to do, and this requires writing as well, and I did this as well. Consider what you like and dislike about the life that you're living. Because unless you acknowledge things, you are not going to be able to change them. You are not going to be able to move to the next level. You need to acknowledge those things. Be honest. Be honest. What's something that you like about yourself? It could be that you're a great cook, right? I can cook some things very well. I'm good at frying chicken. That's one thing I'm really good at. Also, think about some things that you dislike. It could be something as simple as I spend too much time looking at TV and I need to focus on something else. Be honest. Now, when you are writing these things down, it can bring up some things that are difficult to bear, some things that are difficult to deal with. And if things are too overwhelming, too much for you to deal with, that may be a sign that you need to seek professional help. And it is okay to seek professional help, because when you really start tapping into the truth of your life, then you're going to tap into some things that have happened to you, or some decisions that you made that maybe you're not happy with, and you may need professional help. Seek professional help if you need it. It's out there, it's available, and there's nothing wrong with it. I want you to understand that being honest with yourself is necessary to go to the next level in your life, to elevate to the next level, because you have to take a true assessment of who you are and of where you are so you can grow, right? The truth will set you free, and it will create the type of freedom for your life where you can make decisions about how you want to live. You can have control over your life. You can feel free to be yourself. And when you are free to be yourself, and when you can say what you value, what you love, what you enjoy, and your actions begin to line up with those things, that is the definition of authenticity. That is being authentic. Thank you, Instagram and Facebook, for joining me tonight. I hope this information was helpful. Again, I am the author of the book, Ready for More, A Woman's Guide to Becoming Fearlessly Authentic. If you would like a copy of my book, you can go to my website, www.jenniferjdove.com, and order a copy. You can DM me on Facebook or Instagram, and I can direct you to where you need to go to get a copy. If you are interested in working directly with me, there will be opportunities to work with me this spring. Send me a DM and I'll talk to you about it and we can discuss it. Thank you, everyone, for joining me live. For everyone watching the replay, thank you so much. And I will see you guys next week. So think about, during this time until we see each other again, how you can work to face your truth. I hope you all have a good night. Talk to you later. Bye bye.